Hello bearded bee people, welcome back to BeeKBs. Today is the 16th of July and we're pulling honey for the first time of the year. I've already gone through one yard, the main home yard, and was sort of disappointed with how much was capped, or the lack of amount of honey frames that were capped. So I think that has something to do with some humid weather, and it also has something to do with the fact that a lot of big hitter honey plants just finished, so they haven't really had all that much time to cap like the basswood honey and the milkweed stuff that's coming in now. But that being said, I'm still pulling because I want to get the frames that are capped and that are concentrated and dehydrated enough pulled, extracted, and then put back on the hives so that I can kind of maximize our honey take. So I'm now out at a different yard, getting ready to go through some hives. This is a largely empty honey box on the top of this hive here, but we are going to dig a little bit deeper. Let's see if they have anything that we can cap. I am going to put my veil on because shaking honey frames is not necessarily the most gentle bee situation. So the veil goes on, smoker's rolling. Let's get ready to piss off some bees. Okay, so this looks pretty good, at least the side nearest me does. Hopefully there's at least a few frames that I can steal from these ladies. Now, I am to some extent, as I always to some extent, employ the if you can't shake it, take it mantra. And that means that if you can't shake any nectar from these frames, even if they're not capped, they should be concentrated enough to extract. I don't like to overemploy that method because if the bees don't have it capped, there's probably a reason other than them just not having had enough time or the ability to yet. So I do, if the one frame or one side is capped and the other one's not quite capped, then I'll shake it off and see. Okay, so they're starting to cap the top of it, but they're not having a whole lot of luck with that. And then this is just mostly open nectar, so I'm not even going to consider shaking that frame. Okay, that one side is mostly capped. I'll keep that in my mind as I'm going through the rest of this. Alright, that's a good looking frame. And I am shaking it over a dry surface. Way, way, way too wet. Way too wet. So what I did was I just shook it parallel to the top of a dark cover and saw a lot of drips come out. And that means they've not dehydrated it enough yet, and that if I took it and added it to my honey pull, this frame's good. If I took that other one and added it to my honey pull, I would risk fermenting my honey batch, and that is no good unless you're trying to make mead, and that is not what I'm trying to do. Okay, so this one looks good as well. Got all capped on that side, about 75% on that side. So I'm taking these two frames. Okay. Giving them back some blank ones. Getting stung in the hand. Dropping stuff all over the place. Okay, so now I know they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other what are likely pretty heavy honey frames, but I'm not messing with them because they're not done yet. So we'll move on to the next one. Alright, we got a nice looking honey frame here I'm taking. And another one. I'm going to set this one down because I think this one is good too. Another one. Taking both of these. Another one. Set this one down because I think this next one's good. Alright. Taking both of these. Okay, so I'm just going to continue on, put on a podcast while I go through the rest of these here. But, you know, the process is the same. I'm just looking for frames that are either completely capped or very close to it. And if they're very close to it, I'm shaking them to make sure that it's dehydrated enough to not ferment my whole batch. Of course, you know, a little bit of runny honey isn't bad as long as there's the vast majority is dehydrated enough, but even dehydrated enough and capped can still be on the high end of moisture, so you really do want to make sure that you're only adding a very minimal amount of runny honey, if any at all. So just be careful out there, because that'd be the worst thing. You know, you extract 1,500 pounds and it all ferments in a month because you were a little bit too greedy when you were deciding which ones were ready to be pulled. So be careful about that, but yeah, get out there and get your honey. Get those frames extracted and put back on the hive so that they can make you some more before the end of August. So get out there and have some freaking fun with your freaking bees. See ya.